Everyone, this meeting is now being recorded.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jones?
Present.
Thank you. Councilman Herring?
Here.
Thank you. Councilman Hairston?
Here.
Thank you. Councilwoman Guillaume? Councilwoman Fareed?
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Ferguson?
Here.
Thank you. President Curtis?
Here.
Okay, we have 6 in attendance.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Fareed, second.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Ferguson. Any discussion? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Jones?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Herring?
Yes.
Councilman Hairston?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson? Vice President Ferguson?
Yes.
Thanks. President Curtis?
Yes.
We have 6. This is passed.
Okay, thank you. All right, first on the agenda is a presentation by G.S. Proctor and Associates. Mayor Cross, would you like to do the introduction?
Thank you, Council President, and welcome to Mr. Steve Proctor. We are honored to have you here on this presentation to give us insight into the nature and the business of G.S. Proctor and Associates, and what you are able to bring to us, not just as a lobbyist, but also as an executor, if you will, of our ARPA funds and being able to help us track that data. So I don't want to take up any more of the time because the good meat is there waiting for you, Mr. Proctor, to give to us. So I'll turn the table over to you and allow you to proceed as you have planned. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the very kind introduction. And I do want to say thank you and good evening to each and every one of you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you this evening. We have prepared a very brief presentation. As the mayor just said, I'm Steve Proctor of G.S. Proctor and Associates. With me this evening, I've asked Joe Green and Jeanette, who run our federal practice. They work out of our DC office in the Ronald Reagan building. I've asked Sherry Sims, who runs our state practice, to join me this evening. And as I said, I'm Steve Proctor, president of G.S. Proctor and Associates. We are a lobbying firm that has been in business over 25 years. We started in 1995. We do federal, state, and local. And what I think is significant about that, and where I think we can be super helpful to you, is that there are always various pots or appropriations that are available. So we wanted to talk to you briefly about that this evening. So as I said, I want to be respectful of your time. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about G.S. Proctor. Mr. Green has a couple of slides that we want to share with you. Jeanette is going to talk to you about some of the federal grants that we think might be beneficial to you. And what we want to do is be super clear that it is our desire to work with the city of Glenarden and complement and try to help you achieve your priorities, your goals, and your vision that you have laid out for your citizens. So we see ourselves as a facilitator and someone who can assist. So with that, I'm going to ask Joe if we can get permission to just kind of share the screen and just run through a few brief slides for you this evening. Joe, can we try to pop that up?
Yeah, I would need a permission from the meeting host to share.
You can try it now.
Perfect.
Here we go.
It was there. Oh,
yes, you can see. Yep. There you go, Joe.
Right. Mayor, members of the City Council, Joe Green, GS Proctor and Associates. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to talk to you about what we do on behalf of municipal and civil servant entities, both here in Maryland and really around the country. We've been doing this for over 25 years, Steve, I think now. And we've obviously worked with the City of Glenard in the past. And one of the things we were really excited about is just talking about how our service has over the years evolved and a lot of what we do for these clients and how we help them sort of work towards their legislative goals, policy goals. But as all of you, really highlight and underscore would be securing funding and appropriations from state and federal government entities to support your projects. So our presentation that we're going to go through today talks really how we kind of approach that, sort of technically how we approach that, but more importantly, our philosophy and intellectually how we look at and how we sort of prioritize your interests and really get elected officials at really all levels of government to elevate your issues and work towards solutions to help bring about the change you hope to bring to your community. So with that, I'll start working through the presentation. This is our agenda this evening. Steve gave you a little bit of background, but as you can see there, it's very straightforward. It's just an overview of the team. And Steve, I may go back to you on that, but the work we've done for other cities, our approach to building relationships, the agendas that we create for all of our clients and how those agendas are implemented and how we move about representing your interests. And then that leads obviously into advocacy, grants, and economic development partnerships. And then lastly, we want to focus on how we communicate with our clients, especially working with civil servant entities, local governments, municipalities, and presenting to at your public meetings, if necessary, presenting to your closed sessions, whatever is necessary to make sure that you're apprised of our efforts and of opportunities as they emerge, again, at all levels of government. Steve, any comments on the team you wanted to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to share that this team I'm super proud of this team. They come from all walks of life. So we actually, as I was articulating a moment ago, we want to compliment you all. Our team feeds off of each other and they complement each other. For example, Jeanette came to us with a very extensive background in transportation. Michelle Goodwin comes to us from the College of Southern Maryland, 30 plus years with an educational background. Monroe Harrison at the top right comes with a hospitality background. So we bring all of that diverse background, look at your priorities, lay them out, and we're able to use our expertise and drill down. And then with our administrative team of Charlita, Erika, Tatiana, and with Jeanette's help, lead the research and drill down and find appropriations, earmarks, things of that nature. So I just wanted to know this is a very experienced team, and they've been around, and you've probably seen them around the Prince George's County, but we are known very well in the halls of Annapolis, as well as in the halls of Congress. So just very briefly, Joe, thank you.
Absolutely. Just one other thing I wanted to add about this slide is what makes our firm so unique is that we also leverage tons of diverse experiences, right? Monroe Harrison, hospitality, private sector. He brings that insight, those instincts of how we can work with businesses on economic development. Michelle brings, as Steve noted, the education experience, which helps us to navigate strategies with colleges and the public school system if we need to. Trey Proctor, rock star, rising star in the county, spent many years working in the banking industry along with Steve. So there's a lot that we bring to the table, not just from a government perspective, but from really all sort of really kind of a universal perspective of the overall economy. So it really provides creates efficiencies for how we talk about issues and helps us to work through challenges and identify ways to create real outcomes that benefit mutual stakeholders. So here was kind of wanted to give a brief overview of our work for government. We've over the years, it's probably more than 24, but we've represented several Prince George's County municipalities, as some of you may know. We've represented several Maryland counties over the years. We have lobbied along with those counties. I know Steve was very proud of work he had done to help the District of Columbia secure hundreds of millions of dollars for their public education system. We've done this in Georgia and Tennessee and states around the country. So our work with public entities is quite profound. And we're very, very proud of all that we've done there. In regards to grants and appropriations, going after specific applications for our clients. We've been very successful over the years. As many of you know, bond bills are something that the state pretty much does every year unless they're in dire fiscal straits. They'll approve bond bills. And I think, Sherry and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but our win percentage there is probably in the 90s. I mean, I can't think of a time we've lost a bond bill, but I don't want to say we're 100%, but we've been very, very successful in helping our clients either get their full ask or at least 50 to 75% of their ask, which we're very, very proud of. And that also extends to appropriations. We've been working very close the last couple of years, really the last year, on helping our clients understand the earmarking process. As many of you may have heard and seen, that this 117th Congress has committed themselves to working to deliver money directly to local constituencies. And Maryland has done quite well, and government entities in Maryland have also been qualified applicants and have been successful in getting earmarks for local projects. And that's something I think we should talk to you all about as we move forward together. And then, obviously, outside of money, you talk about policy, right, and legislative advocacy. And so we design and consult on how an organization should go about pursuing an outcome, right? Working with the Maryland General Assembly, working with Prince George's County government if necessary, developing stakeholder partnerships with, groups who have similar interests, but, may have slightly different needs, right? And kind of bringing about ways to work together towards a common goal. We've been very successful in that. And that's something we want to do for Glenarden as well. One thing we're currently doing, and Sherry can talk a little bit about this, is we've been working closely with municipalities' economic development. As many of you know, there's, whether it's American Recovery money or efforts to annex new parts of or unincorporated areas around the municipality. We've kind of helped them coordinate, municipalities that is, coordinate bringing about a successful outcome to an organization, and then B, working with whether it's developers or business entities to develop public-private partnerships to expand government services, to build new facilities, et cetera. In fact, we are currently doing that as we speak today. And then lastly, I'm sorry, Steve, go ahead.
No, go ahead. And I want to add 2 points that I wanted to highlight with them as well, that I think they would find very interesting.
Sure thing. And then, we've obviously, we talked a little bit about the, recovery money, but, some of our clients have been interested, really municipal clients, in understanding how the program works, right? I mean, there's been general federal guidance and really congressional guidance on what to do with the money, how the money should be spent. But largely, with the Department of Treasury oversight, if you will, the municipalities can invest in programs that they would not have been able to invest in had it not been for COVID, right? And so, we've worked with a few municipalities to help them understand what that looks like, how to kind of approach it intellectually, right? And then how to kind of prioritize projects that would make sense for what the program is intended uses are. So, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with you, to give you some more perspective of some things that I think you might find an appreciation for. Joe just alluded to it. We actually helped spearhead with the lobbying team. We were on the lobbying team with Mayor Bowser and the District of Columbia, and lobbied to help get them $1.2 billion, where they were being treated as a territory as opposed to a state. Under the Trump administration, they were trying to treat them as a territory, whereas for decades, they were always treated as a state. We lobbied and got that amended so that they were then treated as a state and received 1.2 billion as opposed to the several hundred million. So it was almost another $500 million for the District of Columbia through our lobbying efforts. Going back to something Joe alluded to that I think you would find super interesting as you move forward. Yes, we're very good at appropriations and earmarks and grants, and you'll hear from Jeanette on that in a moment, but also want to talk about the public-private partnership that our team does bring to the table. One such project that I wanted to share with you just south of you, we do some work for Charles County where they've identified a project that was super important to them at Indian Head. We've helped them land the United States bomb technician as a client coming out of Colorado. We're moving them to Charles County, and we've helped them secure well over $1 million in earmarks, grants. But we also worked with the Secretary of Housing and the Secretary of Commerce at the state. In fact, I have the Secretary of Commerce coming for a tour of Prince George's County on May 9th. So, as we identify priorities, we may even get him on a tour over at look at some of your things in Glenarden if you find that of interest to you. So we are working with surrounding jurisdictions and achieving great success right now. So I just wanted to highlight the public-private partnership in Charles County and our legislative acumen with regard to Mayor Bowser and helping her administration. So I'm sorry, Joe, I just wanted to insert that because I think because of their location, they might find that of interest given that they're locale to District of Columbia and just south of them in Charles County. So 2 projects that we literally just pulled off.
No, I think those additions are absolutely spot on, Steve. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, trying to move my, see, relationship development and access. So, obviously lobbying, a big part of it is the relationship, right? It's getting access to key decision makers and policymakers and presenting your case, working along or aligning your priorities in many cases in Maryland with theirs to help bring about a political outcome that benefits as many people as possible, right? And so for all of our clients, especially for our municipal clients, meeting with the congressional delegation, Senator Van Hollen, Senator Cardin, obviously, we have great representation in the House as well with, Congressman Brown and Hoyer. Congressman Raskin is basically an international superstar now, right? And so one of the things that we do is actually set up meetings with all of those individuals, with their staff, specifically key members who work on policy issues that are germane to Glenarden and the things that you care about, and then start to track what opportunities and what activities are happening on the Hill that either we can be a part of or that we can start to position ourselves to receive money from, should they materialize. But as you all can imagine, you have to kind of get in early and build that relationship, build that rapport. So when those things start to kind of move forward, you're top of mind, right? You're elevated as decisions are being made. And that filters all the way down, right? Right through the governor's office. Our current governor, certainly whoever our future governor is, we will look to do the exact same thing with them. State agencies and programs, Sherry and Jeanette have done a stellar job over the, Sherry for several years, Jeanette's relatively new. So for the last several months, really researching and understanding, how agencies are prioritizing distributing money, distributing grants, programs, awards, and how you can be a candidate and how you can position yourself to be the best possible candidate for a particular program or agency priority. Obviously working with Prince George's County, one of the biggest delegations in Maryland, there's a significant representation in Annapolis. And so working with, your local delegation, but with the House and Senate delegation in Annapolis is something I think we find would be very valuable as we look to, again, protect the city's interests and then build on those and bring more resources back to the city. Prince George's County Executive, Prince George's County Agency Programs, exact same thing. A lot of that leadership will come from the state, but there's no doubt there are partnerships to be had with local government. And then obviously, as we build campaigns, we're big fans of pulling in the community, the businesses, and even the religious community to help really send a message to decision makers that there is a large stakeholder community that benefits from what Glenarden's trying to do. And I think that helps really sway them in making decisions that are not just beneficial, but really impactful for how you want to implement your agenda. So something we're very proud of, we like to do. Sherry, anything you want to add there on the really on the relationship development and access, especially on the state side? We've done so much great work on really with counties, honestly, but also municipalities and helping them navigate their local delegation, but also navigate complex processes to bring about resources home. Anything you want to add to that?
Thanks, Joe. I just want to add, and you and Steve have done a great job of our real core of our success is our relationships. And you can see here that there's a list of numerous relationships we've had, not only on the state level, local level, national level. And as part of our success of, building our core with other folks to get our clients' needs accomplished. So I just like, we do a great job with GS Proctor of extending our outreach to other folks. And that's, again, you've said it enough and Steve has said it, our successes is our reach to other entities to help us accomplish our client goals.
Joe, before you leave that slide, I just want to share with him, I hope everybody can see that slide. That middle slide, I'm very proud of that. That is where I brought together to the point earlier where we brought in private and public to come together. That's Bishop McNamara, where we put together $12 million from private sector and public sector and are building that new campus out in front of them on behalf of that client, Bishop McNamara. The top slide, the bottom slide, we also think it's very important that you give back. So that's just some of our philanthropic efforts that you just see in that little picture right there. We think it's very important to partner with the community that you live, work, and play in, but to give back as well. So just want to highlight that. I know, Joe, you're tight on time, but I did want to make that point that it is very important that we do give back as much as we work in the community.
Okay, yep, sure. We can just run through this. This is creation of the local, state, federal agenda. And I actually have spoken to this earlier. This is the technical approach of how we do it, right? Meeting with the mayor, council, go over the priorities, try to understand, what's top of mind, what needs to happen. And then more importantly, we kind of return to our offices, we sit down and we dive into, based on what you're trying to do, what's available out there, how we can position the city to get it. And then more importantly, we design the execution, the plan of execution, the timing, who we need to talk to, when we need to talk to them, what that conversation needs to yield. We build all that out in the agenda. Obviously, one of the things that's very, very important is buy-in from our most important stakeholders, which is you, right? We want to make sure that as we move forward, there's agreement on what that agenda is. There's agreement on how we want to move forward. We would never engage in an advocacy campaign or engage in any messaging without explicit approval from you. We want to make sure that your values, your views are always accurately captured. And as all of us are in politics here, and that this industry is always changing, right? This sector, there's always some new development, some new way to look at a particular issue. And so one of the things we're very, very proud of is being, as we like to say, being timely, being accurate, and being on message for our clients as we look to advocate for their interests. And legislative advocacy is, again, a byproduct of what I just laid out for the agenda. It's again, what we do, it's the scheduling and preparation. It's all of it, right? Really making sure you're going into that meeting as prepared as possible. You will never go into a meeting with a public official with GS Proctor and Associates where you don't understand the nature, the tone, and the anticipated outcomes that we hope to have from that meeting. Preparation is a key part of how we advocate. And then obviously there's small details, how things are drafted, how they're put together, what goes into crafting legislation, what you need to consider, and what you need to avoid, right? There are times where it's better not to do something. And one of our most important attributes is that we're able to help clients manage that risk. It's like, you know what, this is not the right approach, or there's a more efficient way to do something versus what's traditional. And so obviously, as we work for you, we'll introduce that into our advocacy approach. And then bond bills and grants. And for this slide, Sherry has been successful for so many years. Jeanette has been just probably the biggest brain I've seen on understanding what federal agencies and programs are looking to do and then looking to do next. And so I'll transition to Sherry, and then Sherry, we can go to Jeanette on closing out with really earmarks and just grant research.
Thanks. I will just I will speak on this last session, which we were able to get close to $2 million for our clients, nonprofit, business, education clients, mental health clients. So it's a variety, and it was a good year, I believe, for our clients to get our bond funding due to the federal, our federal connection and federal grants that came down this year. And also, we also supported our community colleges and our transportation clients on the highway user revenue to get that close to where it was about 10 years ago. So with our advocacy there, we were very successful with that. And there's other, bond bills and grants throughout the year that we support our clients with, and we continue to do that. We continue to look for opportunities for our clients for different projects or different agenda items. So it's a goal that we've been successful with, especially during the General Assembly session, and that we will continue to do. I'll switch it over to Jeanette, who takes care of our federal grant funding, which has been since COVID and since our president's initiative to fund and to get the economy back. There's been quite a few opportunities there.
Build back better, right, Sherry?
Yes.
Indeed.
Jeanette.
Hello, my name is Jeanette Tejeda Gomez. I'm new to GS Proctor only the last few months, but I come to them with 15 years of legislative research and public communication background. And with that previous knowledge, I've used it to take the legislative agendas that are created by different entities, whether municipal or county, and then create a plan of action. So to find different federal grants or programs that the entity is able to then go after that particular funds. So if there were a particular agency or topic that you were interested in, I would then go research those particular entities and Build Back Better or whatever grant process and give that information to you so you could make informed decisions about what types of grants and funding you would like to achieve.
And just one thing I add for both Sherry and Jeanette. Sherry is one of the smoothest operators in Annapolis as far as working the appropriations committees and making sure that bond bill sponsors have the latest information and are able to be useful, right? Be effective with it. She's really good at that. Quiet operator, she's skilled. And Jeanette, one of the, very, very, very humble, but I'll go out to say that we've had several earmark applications that would not exist but for her. So those two are some of the best in the business when it comes to this process.
To that point, just very briefly, we're having a ribbon cutting on May 10th with Congressman Hoyer, County Exec Alsobrooks, for $1 million earmark that we were able to secure for MedStar Southern Maryland Hospital. And to Sherry's point, we were well into the millions. As I said, we just landed another 1 million for Bishop McNamara High School. So our track record is right now, we've been extremely successful and not had any failures whatsoever. But I think Joe made a great point. What we were talking about there is we would do everything with your permission and with your green light, and then we communicate it back to you on a regular basis. So you are always in the loop. We will never get out in front of you and embarrass you. We always try to work to complement what you're trying to achieve. So that's just very, very brief. I know we're way over our time, but there's so much of what we do. We have a team of 15 people, and we would love to hear from you about what your priorities and how we could jump in and possibly help you. So, Joe, I know we're way over, but go,
yeah, I can wrap this up very quick. I think we covered the most salient points here, but economic development, we talked about that earlier. We can really certainly cover some of this in the question and answer period should that come up.
Yeah.
And that just goes to the work we've done in building partnerships and bridges with the private sector and government at all levels. And then obviously, to close out our communication approaches, and I said it earlier as well, presenting at public meetings, presenting at closed sessions, whatever is the most appropriate follow-up and communication schedule for you, we're happy to adopt that. And make sure that you're current and up to date on all the things that we're doing and our advocacy efforts for you. So with that, we appreciate your time, and I believe we're going to move to a question and answer section.
Well, just very briefly, one thing I do want to communicate to you, not only do we lobby and advocate on your behalf, we are also an information source for you. So as things unfold, whether it's on the Hill in Annapolis or Upper Marlboro, we do it in a way so that you are always in the loop, not in a gossipy drama sort of way, but you won't get blindsided because if we know it, you will have that information first and foremost, whether it's a committee assignment or a new grant coming out or just a change in personnel. We will keep you in the loop on that as well. We see this as a real partnership where it's our job to make you look good at all times. we're never going to let you get blindsided or get caught flat-footed. So I just want to make sure you understand when we talk about the meetings and messaging and communication, it's very important that we make you look good when you go out to your citizens. We'll help you articulate the deliverables to your citizenry. So we would love to answer any questions that you may have of us. Again, I know we're over, but there were some points that we thought were critical that we covered for you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Green and Mr. Proctor for the presentation. I'd like to open the floor to the council members if you have any questions.
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
Yes, I would just like to thank GS Proctor for their presentation. Having been on the council for a number of years, we've worked with them. The city of Glen Arden has worked with them on a number of things, and they've secured over $500,000 in grants and bond bill funding for a number of projects that we've had in the city to include parks and other things. And you know, I just think that the expertise that they offer the city would be greatly valued by things that we maybe having coming up in the future. For instance, you know, the Wilmore Town Center was just recently purchased, and there's 22 acres of development of property that needs to be developed over there. And I think getting ahead of that before they move forward with doing something, we would need somebody that's going to stay on top of that, because developers do come to the city and they want to put things there that we may not want, you know, and if we have somebody that can lobby on our behalf and be ahead of the ball, be ahead of the curve before they get too far into it, I think it'd be great. And working with Sherry Sims has always worked closely with us. Even when we weren't under contract, she would still reach out to some council members and give us information on grants and bond bills and everything else. So I just think that I think the most important thing is that the communication aspect of it, that we just have to stay in communication with each other to know exactly, to let them know where we want to go and how we want to and what we want to do. Because if we don't do that, then it's really not going to help us at all. So again, I appreciate all the hard work that you've done in the past for the city of Glen Arden, and I we'll look forward to working with you again in the future if the council so desires to do that.
Well, thank you so much for your comment. I appreciate it, and it's a real pleasure. I know working with you all, we had many, many successes, whether it was with the law enforcement grants or things of that nature. So we appreciate that. You made a very valid point. If the city and the council so desire to move forward with us, we would be honored and we would consider it a real privilege. But one of the requests that we would have is that we would establish some regular cadence of communication. We wouldn't have to be on your screen, but if we could, you know, just update you, whether it's monthly, bi-weekly, or whatever cadence you establish, we will certainly adhere to it. But I agree with you, Councilman Herring. I would absolutely encourage us to establish some regular cadence and a particular point of contact so we can disseminate it to you at all times and keep you all in the loop as to what's going on. So we would consider that a real honor and a privilege. As far as development, you're spot on. There's not much development occurs in the county that we're not privy to because of our relationships. You know, we work very closely with the council. Obviously, the county exec liked what we did in the District of Columbia. She's asked us to help her with her federal practice. So we're helping County Exec Alsabrook, Mayor Bowser at the federal level. And it would be a real honor and a privilege to work with the city of Glen Arden as you pursue, whether it's your federal or your state, or even for that matter, your local priorities and initiatives. So thank you so much for your comment. Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jones.
Good evening, everyone. Kind of find this kind of puzzling. I've been on the council for 5 years now. The first 4 years on the council, I heard the name GS Proctor, and I knew that we were getting invitations to certain soirees or listening sessions with the senators or Ben Cardin, Senator Van Hollen. We would go to Junior Achievement. But as far as the other work that you all have mentioned here tonight, I have, in the 4 years that I was on the first on the council, I didn't see any of this, didn't know that you even did any of this. And then when I was brought to task by the former city manager, Timothy George, as to when they were trying to put the budget together for the city of Glenarden, they asked me what it was, why were we paying taxpayers dollars of around the amount of $2,000 a month for your services, and what was it that you all did for the city? I think he tried to have, I think he might have had one meeting with GS Proctor, finally getting that together. He finally had that one meeting. Then when he tried to have another meeting to follow up on information, that didn't happen. We had I knew there was the one time the one work that they did do was the annexation project. We were supposed to be trying to annex some properties into the city of Glenarden. I don't know where that went, but I think we might have had one meeting, and then that just, we never heard anything else about that. As far as communication, it was told to me by the former city manager, Timothy George, that we were supposed to be in communication with GS Proctor once a month through some type of communication. I don't know what it was, because I didn't receive that type of communication. So I'm kind of, at this juncture, kind of, this is interesting that, you know, that these services are said to be offered by your company, but I just didn't see that at all the first 4 years of my being on the council. And the one thing I need to understand is, do we have to come to you with what it is the city wants to do, or will things that you know of that may be able to be tailored to the city, will you bring that information to the city?
Sure. And thank you so much for your question. I really appreciate this opportunity. I really want to respond to that. There was a lot there, so let me unpack it, the back end first. To answer your last question, I would like to do both. By both, I mean, I would like for us to sit down and do a listening tour to hear what's important to you all, for one, and then we'll go out and try to identify and match it up. But number two, by the same token, things that we come across, grants that we come across, opportunities that we come across that you may not have thought about, we would like to present those to you as well. So I agree with you. It's both, to answer that latter part. The first part, we did an awful lot for the city of Glenarden, and I could not agree with you more. The communication, and I'm not going to point the finger at anyone, the communication, the way it was conveyed to me is that you all were not receiving the reports and things that we had been forwarding over there. That's why I said, to responding to Councilman Herring's question, I would like for us to establish some regular cadence with you all directly, where we can disseminate a report to each of you, or we can present to each of you. Because to respond to what you're saying, with previous administrators, we had a good report and the information was being disseminated. And then with some, we found out the information was not disseminated. But there's no disputing that the city of Glenarden received the law enforcement grant that we found, the money for the radios and your police cruisers that we found, and things of that nature, and the park money that Councilman Herring referred to. There's no disputing that. I would completely agree with you. Towards the end, there were a number of different administrators that you all, had there. And I would say that was wonderful. But going forward, lessons learned, and I'll accept responsibility for it. And that's why I responded to Councilman Herring the way I did. I would like to be able to be in some sort of direct communication with you all, so that you all get the information directly from us, and we don't have to rely on in an intermediary. Does that make sense to you? I would like for us to be able to share it directly with you, Councilman Jones, whether you prefer a written report or a presentation. We would love the opportunity to get that directly in your hand. And then I know you have it, as opposed to hearing that you didn't get it, or this one got it and this one didn't get it. It got real dicey there for a while as to who was getting and who wasn't getting it. And we didn't control that. I'm just going to be very candid. We didn't control that, but I'll accept responsibility for it. And I'm saying, going forward, if you choose us, and it'd be our privilege, but I would ask that we get the opportunity to give you the information. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Also, as far as the ARPA funds, is your companies certified through the federal government? Because I think the federal government identified certain people that could be project managers for the ARPA funds.
Yeah, we have partners that we would partner with to bring that in. Yes, ma'am. But GS Proctor is not certified. No, let me be abundantly clear. We're not certified, but we do have partners that we would work with to help you accommodate that.
So that would be like a subcontract to somebody else.
Well, we would bring somebody in. We use consultants and subs all the time, but they're responsible to us. Your information would come through us, and who we bring on with us would be, under our domain, under our bailiwick. Does that make sense to you?
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Council President Curtis.
Okay. Any other questions from the council? Well, Mr. Green, Mr. Proctor, Ms. Sims, Ms. Gomez, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to hear all the things that your firm offers, and look forward to connecting with you soon.
Well, thank you so much again. I apologize for going over, but we so appreciate the opportunity, and we would love to have the privilege to work with you again. So thank you so much, and you all have a good evening and be safe.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Next on the agenda are citizens' comments on pending legislation. If you do have a comment, you'll have 5 minutes to speak on your comment. You can raise your hand, virtually raise your hand, and you'll be called on. Or if you cannot find the raise your hand feature, you can unmute yourself and say that you want to speak, and I will find you and call on you. With that, I see that the first hand up is Mrs. Carolyn Smallwood. Ms. Smallwood?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, can I clarify a statement that Councilman Jones made that,
Miss
it's in
Smallwood?
reference to- hold on.
Miss
it's
Smallwood.
reference to-
Miss Smallwood. Miss
Can you
Smallwood.
hear me out first before you make a decision?
Miss Smallwood, we're accepting comments on legislation. So if you have comments on legislation, we're happy to hear it.
So we can
But
comment on the presentation?
if you would like to address Councilwoman Jones and a comment she's made, then you can email her. But right now, we're only accepting comments on legislation.
Okay, so the presentation wasn't for the citizen, it was just for the council.
The presentation was for the council, yes.
Okay. Resolution 16, 2022. On
Yes.
the second page, where the second page, line 13, virtual should come out. The second, 1, 2, 3, 4. On line 27, the word virtual should come out. Virtual is only was put up there for the COVID period. We are now, Maryland and state and federal government are open. So the council need to come back into the council chamber and have their meetings. So those two words should come out of this resolution. It reminds me that—
I'm sorry, what 2 words are you talking about?
Virtual.
On line 27 on the second page?
On the second page, line.
Okay, and what was the
14,
second word?
The line 14.
Line 14.
And line 27. The word virtually should come out.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Because people are open, government is opening up. The county is open up, the state is open up, and Glenard need to open up so the citizens can come in and have meetings and talk with the council face to face. Also, where they said that the council president should have the decision to make if a person can come back to the mic more than one time. I don't agree with that because personally, I think the council president is biased towards some citizens, and I'm not going to call any names. I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. My next one that I have a problem with is R25, 2022. Reading this resolution, it seems like they're trying to develop a position for someone to start a health and wellness committee into Glen Arden. And in this thing, they noted that if a person is contagious, that they can come in that person's house and have them removed. This is absurd. This is why we have the health facility in Shoveley at Prince George's Hospital. It's designed for that type of event. If a person is have a contagious disease, you can't go in their house and tell them they have to leave. And if you're going to have a position for a person, are you trying to give this person a paid position, or what are you trying to do with this person? And the other problem I have, who is going to determine if this person, who's going to determine who's going to move this person out of their house? Can I get an answer?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Smallwood. This Health and Wellness Committee is not, it's not saying that this person is going to do that. So what you're reading, that language, is actually directly from the charter. That is section 602, the enumeration of specific powers, and 28 is health. It says to protect and preserve the health of the city and its inhabitants, to appoint a public health officer and to define and regulate his or her powers and duties, to prevent the introduction of contagious diseases into the city, to establish quarantine regulations and to authorize the removal and confinement of persons having contagious or infectious diseases, to prevent and remove all nuisances, to inspect, regulate, and abate any buildings, structures, or places which cause or may cause unsanitary conditions or conditions detrimental to health. But nothing herein shall be construed to affect in any manner any of the powers and duties of the Secretary of Health and Mental Hygiene, the County Board of Health, or any public, general, or local law relating to the subject of health. The purpose of quoting that section in this resolution is simply to state that the council is responsible for the health, to protect and preserve the health of the city, and therefore it is within our right and our power to establish a health and wellness committee.
And so, and you say this came out of section 605?
Section 602, it's in Article 6, General Powers of the Council, Section 602, the enumeration of the specific powers. And then there are a number of powers. They go from 1 to 51, and I'm referencing specifically 28. So it's not at all saying that this committee would do that. What this committee is being, the purpose again of that, referencing that section, is to establish the council's authority to even bring forth a health and wellness committee. Now that that's established, the purpose of the Health and Wellness Committee is for them to advise the council on ways that we can protect and preserve the health of the city. If there is, God forbid, another pandemic type situation and we are receiving guidance from the county, receiving guidance from the state, we would want people who are educated in these types of things to be able to advise both the council and the administration on what should be the proper steps that the city should take. When should we close? How long should we be closed? What should the requirements be for our closing? When should we reopen? Things of that nature. This committee would not have any decision-making authority. Just as none of the committees have any decision-making authority, they will serve at the pleasure of the council and provide recommendations for how we proceed with things.
But
I hope that
isn't this
clarifies.
a question for you? Isn't this what the county and the state is doing already? And aren't we following the guidelines of the county and the state as to when to open and when not to open? And what to do in case of contagious diseases like COVID-19? Aren't we following their guidelines?
In some cases, so as an example, the county executive doesn't always follow exactly what the state is doing. So when the governor said that there were no more mask mandates, there was still a mask mandate in Prince George's County. And it's similar with the municipalities. They have their right to act in accordance with what they feel is appropriate. And that doesn't mean that they can, so for example, if the county said that there's a mask mandate in effect, the city of Glenarden could not say that there is no mask mandate. But if the county lifted it, the city of Glenarden could do that. Now, if we did that, that would be through resolution or ordinance. That would not be through the committee say so. And again, as this section of the charter says, it's not to, it shall not be construed to affect in any manner any of the powers and duties of the Secretary of Health and Mental Hygiene, the County Board of Health, or any public general or local law relating to the subject of health. So again, just as the state has a health department, the county has a health department. The municipalities are allowed to do that as well. And again, I'm not making this up as just, something that I think we should have. This is already a power that we have per our charter.
Okay, but I still don't agree with this resolution. I think this resolution should be set aside so citizens can do some more investigation about this, because I didn't get this resolution until Friday, and I haven't had a chance to really look into this resolution. And I know other citizens haven't had a chance to look into this resolution. So I am requesting that this resolution be pulled, and so that we may further look into this resolution for accuracy and everything else. That's my concern. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Smallwood. Ms. Wilson?
Good evening, everyone. I also have a problem with this resolution concerning the Health and Wellness Committee, because this is not reading as though it's going to be a committee. It's reading as though it's going to be a position. And the way that it reads, it says that power and duties would be given to a public health officer. And so if you have a public health officer, that brings to my mind a position. And so are we saying that you're going to put a public health officer position in the budget? This person is going to get paid. And if so, then that means that the taxpayers are going to be will have to pay for this position. Even though maybe you mean it to be a committee, but the way that it's presented in this resolution is as though, and Ms. Fareed just said that the municipality could have a health office as well, just as the state has one, just as the county has one, then the municipality could have one too. So if you're going to have that, then that means that's salaries. So to me, that's what this is saying. You're trying to bring about a health department, and then there would be salaried people. You didn't say, because usually committees are volunteer, and I cannot see you just having a committee of volunteers that would have powers basically over the council's powers. And so I too am not in agreement with this resolution. And also down there on line 43, it says, now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and the city council. I thought the city council is the one that that does the legislative work. So if that's the case, then that's not on the mayor. This resolution is not on the mayor. And let's go to page 2 of that resolution, where you're speaking of on lines 5 and 6. You're saying that committee members would have 2-year terms, and the chairperson and the vice chair would have 3 years. That I'm totally in disagreement on that. If you appoint a committee, then that committee of 5 people, or you said, or no more than 7, when that committee is appointed, everybody's appointed at the same time, and then therefore that their time limits would be the same. So I'm really not in agreement with this. I do think that more work needs to be done on this, because as it's reading now, it's very, it can be deceiving. It is not clear that this is a committee. This is, to me, it sounds like you're trying to build a health department. And with that, we're talking funding. We're talking possible increases in taxes. So those are my comments. I'm sorry. I also had the same thing on 16, on line 29. You need to take the mayor out of that line also. And on line 4 of page 3, you need to take a resolution to amend the city council rules off that line.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. I will say briefly that in the resolutions, as you know, the whereas, when it talks about the whereas and all the verbiage that comes after that, talks about what exists now. Whereas the noun, therefore be it resolved, is actually what the council is doing. And in the, at least to one of your points, the now therefore be resolved is actually establishing a committee. It's not establishing a position that's going to be paid in the government. But I'll let Ms. Fareed, if she wants to expand on that, go ahead.
Mr. Curtis, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I said, whereas in there, you need to take the mayor out of there. That's what I was saying.
No, I wasn't, and I agree with you. I wasn't speaking to that point. I was only speaking to the point where you said that we were, it wasn't clear we were establishing a position. And I was saying that in the beginning of the resolution, where we have the whereas the city council desires to establish, whereas city council desire to, do this, it speaks on what exists now. And then when it gets down to line 43, it says now, therefore be resolved. That's where it gets to what the council is trying to do, what the council is trying to establish. And in that, after that piece, it's clear that the council is trying to establish a committee that consists of 5 and no more than 7 members. I was only speaking to that point. The other points I was not speaking to.
Okay, but my point is that your body has your meat in it. And so with that being said, it's not clear.
Okay.
So you need to go back to the drawing board on that.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that. So again, in the body of the text, we start with under what authority the council is able to do what it is that we're doing, which is establishing the Health and Wellness Committee, which again is, to Council President's point, the now therefore be it resolved what we're attempting to do. It's not a department, although the council does have also the power to establish departments in the council. And what we want to do here is the Health and Wellness Committee, the objective of the Health and Wellness Committee is for it to establish or recommend health and wellness activities. So maybe a fitness walk, a 5K, exercise programs to engage the citizens and get them involved. So that is what the purpose of the Health and Wellness Committee is. It's not the intention that anyone would be removing anyone from anyone's home. I'm not even sure how that's being understood, but if it needs to be made more clear what we're talking about, then we can go ahead and do that. But that's the purpose of the Health and Wellness Committee, is just like with the Youth Advisory Committee, what, types of things can we be doing in the city to better the youth? And so that's really what it's about. So we can look at changing it and changing the language as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. And thank you, Ms. Wilson. Ms. or Mr. Armstrong?
I agree with Carolyn Smallwood. Something about that sentence that says authorize the removal and confinement of persons having contagious or infectious diseases. I don't know what that means. And it just seems like it can be better worded so that people can kind of understand. Because if it's a committee, I'm not understanding what credentials people have to make a decision on whether they're going to remove or confine somebody. So I'm a little confused by that.
Okay, I'll try to
something
explain
that's not necessary to be put in there.
Yeah, I will try to explain again. Okay. What you're reading is already in the charter. That is already a power that the council has. So this is not new language that's being added. This is what the charter says the council has the right to do, what you're reading.
Well, can it be taken out? I mean, just because it's in the charter doesn't necessarily have to be put in there.
Well, I guess my question,
and the charter doesn't seem right. If the language in the charter doesn't seem right to me.
And I guess that's what it sounds like the issue is, that you all have a concern with the language that's in the charter. And if you have a concern with the language in the charter, what I'm saying is whether we take this resolution away or not, that language exists right now. We're not proposing that this be language that's added to the charter. So what your concerns are, or what your reservations are, they have nothing to do with the Health and Wellness Committee. The creation of a Health and Wellness Committee is not going to enact this power. It's a power that we already have. The purpose of laying that out is if someone says, well, what authority does the council have to even say that they're going to establish a Health and Wellness Committee? Well, per the charter, under the health section, we have the right to protect and preserve the health of the city and all of those other things that follow behind it. So that is why that language is in there.
But do you know what it means?
I do know what it means. I understand what it means, but if we're suggesting that we need to change the charter, if citizens are uncomfortable with the language in the charter as it exists and the powers of the council right now as they exist, that's valid, but that's not what this resolution is about. I think maybe you're all becoming aware of the fact that the charter says that because it's being referenced in this resolution for us to establish on what authority the council can actually establish this. If we were looking to establish a department, I would have referenced section 13 that talks about departments, where it says to create, change, and abolishes offices, departments, or agencies other than the offices, departments, and agencies established by the charter, etc. So all it's doing, that section is saying this is by the right by which the council has to exercise the ability to even establish a Health and Wellness Committee. It's not reading in the reverse. It seems like
then that's all it needs to say to me. But I just think that part was just not even necessary. to go into that much depth about a committee, but that's
Yeah, so we can definitely look at the wording, because I'm not sure why people are thinking that is saying that that's what the committee will do.
no, that's not how I'm taking it. I'm just saying
Okay.
that it's confusing and it just doesn't go with the title to me. If you're starting a committee, then all you need to, that particular sentence to me is just not necessary for if you're speaking on a committee. I could see you saying, well, the council has authority over the committee. That makes sense, but that part I just don't understand it, but that's just me, and maybe other people understand it. So I'll just leave it at that. I trust that you're looking out for the best interests of Glen Arden. So
No, I appreciate that, and we are, and I'm sorry that the language is causing people to be concerned. I just like to, in resolutions, point out where we have the authority to do whatever it is that we're doing.
Okay.
So that we can show that, we're not out of line in establishing a health and wellness committee. If someone were to ask, well, isn't that something that the mayor should be doing? It's, it's in the powers of the council. But again, we will look at it. Councilman Harrison and I will look at that and adjust the language. So, we can take it out. But again, if we take it out of this resolution, that still exists. And that's what I want to make clear.
Right. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other comments on present legislation? Okay. Mayor Cross, are you speaking as a citizen or as mayor?
As citizen.
Okay, Mayor, sorry, Miss Kashina Cross.
Thank you. So I just, on this particular legislation, I think I do have a problem with this particular committee reporting directly to the council. No other committees that are appointed or created at this point reports directly to the council. If this is something that is for the whole of the city of Glen Arden, then it should fall under the administrative arm, because it is the responsibility of the city manager to particularly take care of the needs and the affairs and the effects of the city. So I don't see that this committee needs to necessarily report to the city council. Rather, it should report to the city, i.e. then it would be advising the city manager and the mayor in that respect, so that then appropriate communication can be leveraged to the city council in case there is need for resolution or ordinance or charter amendments to accommodate appropriate changes. So I think that there is a mismatch there for this committee. This committee should be an advisor to the city, i.e. the administration, who then reports to the council, as we do every month, recommendations for changes in policy or changes in ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cross. Mr. Jesse Huff, Jr.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I just wanted to say, I actually like this resolution, the idea of starting a health and wellness committee. I think that's something that we do need around here. Just one concern that I had, I see it say that the chair or the vice chair would do 3 years, and I guess everyone else would do 2 years. A concern, I just think that everyone on the committee should do this to serve the same term. Not, that everyone. So if everybody do 3 years, if one person do 3 years, everybody just do 3 years, and then in the 3 years we, if y'all need to change up the committee or y'all want to keep the committee the same. But I don't think y'all should have like one person doing 3 years and then everybody else doing 2 years. That's all I had.
Okay.
That's a great question. And I meant to address it before. The reason why it's been put forward that way is to stagger the terms so that there's continuity in the committee. What can happen is if everyone is 2 years, then there may be a whole new committee when some of these activities that are being proposed, or whatever it is they're going to do, may span over terms. So if you have people, and I wrote the chair and vice chair, it could have been any of the people, but because those are people with titles, so that there's that continuity, so that when the new folks are put in, the people who are not the chair and vice chair, their terms will start, and then they have an opportunity to understand what happened previously, right? So they're not starting from scratch every time, and then they can vote on a new chair and vice chair. So it was really more so to build that continuity, because what happens often, like our election board, for example, most of those members have resigned. If all of them end up resigning, then they're going to have to start from, the new people are going to have to start from scratch, just like this past election board had to start from scratch, not knowing where things are, not knowing the status of certain things. And so that was the purpose of that, to kind of keep that information flow, even if they don't want to continue the programming, but at least they know where things are, what's the status, and they're not trying to start from scratch every 2 years. So that was the purpose. But I understand people's concerns around it not necessarily being equal terms.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. Are there any other citizens' comments in regards to current legislation? Okay, with that, we'll end this part of the agenda, and we will be, sorry, Councilman Ferguson, what's the proper order? Should we? Oh no, I'm sorry. So next on the agenda, we were voting to go into closed session. And so I would need a motion to vote into going into closed session per Charter 304B1. And the reason why I paused is I didn't know if we should adjourn the open session before or afterwards, but I think it's afterwards. So do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved first by Councilwoman Jones, second by Councilman Herring. Any discussion?
Mr. President, you need to let the people know why.
Yes, I said per section. Oh, okay, you're right. Section 304B1, which gives the council the authority to the permission to go into closed session to discuss personnel. That is why we're going into closed session. With that, Madam Clerk, could you do the call, please? The roll call.
Yes, sir. Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
We have 6. This is passed.
All right. And with that, the open portion of this meeting is now adjourned. Have a good evening, citizens.